All right, ISNS. Sorry, it's still early. I'm a West Coaster. Not much time. This thing is up over 200% this morning. I'm going to be hunting this for a breakout. So let's see how that goes. All right. So far it's getting denied, falling down quite hard. Break-in support, 596, breaking.
Jonathan Ferro, just moments away from the opening bell. Let's get you up to speed on the market, shall we? Futures positive, 3 days of gains and a record high on the S&P 500. Futures up by 3 points, Dow futures up by 31. In Europe, the rally continues on a DAX up 6.
Ton of volume on that first candle.
Here, the opening bell in New York City. Switch up the board just very quickly. A repricing of the Treasury curve after Friday's blowout jobs report, rather. We're up another 2 basis points on a session to 1.61% on a US 10-year. Dollar yen capturing that risk sentiment is positive, up 102 spot 57.
But it's actually closing green and it's pushing back up right now. Wow. It's coming up. I'm not entering just yet though. Waiting for my indicators to look a little more bullish.
Yes. The answer to that question is yes, because we already just made another record high on the S&P as well as the NASDAQ. The Dow still off from its record high and record close, but 2183 is now the level to beat on a closing intraday high. NASDAQ 5222. This is now what, the 9th record for the S&P that we've seen in the past month. You take a look
and that's exactly why I said I'm waiting for it to look more bullish.
From this level here and then really catapulted higher just in the
Look at that. Came all the way up to 635, fell back down to 586. Oh, and it's still falling. Anyone who bought in at that top candle got burned pretty hard right now, unless it comes back around.
And this is a very different stock.
You know some people stopped out on that already for sure.
Probably aged like 5 years. This is what we saw back in August of last year, this huge decline in the S&P, and then of course we've been able to rally and climb back since then. It was triggered by the yuan devaluation over in China. They were two kind of back-to-back, and that triggered the sell-off in equities, not only weakness in China.
Why is going off nicely?
The FX market. In terms of individual names, Walmart is definitely one to keep an eye on, buying Jet.com for $3 billion. It's all about buying the talent behind Jet.com to compete in e-commerce with Amazon. Also, Allergan, that company beating in terms of estimates, but it did lower its 2016 revenue guidance versus estimates. It's all about what they're going to do with the money they made from the Teva sale. Do they want
why does not look bad?
Do they find sort of a one-off acquisition? The other sort of group you have to pay attention to is oil. You have WTI getting a nice boost today. The expectation is that OPEC is going to meet on the sidelines.
SPLK, we also got an alert for that, so I'm going to flip over there.
So the talk of perhaps an
SPLK
is now circulating in the market,
going off very nicely.
Crude a bit. Also, positions are so overextended to the short side, that boosting markets as well.
Now I think those are on my swing trade list.
Big oil names from Exxon down to Conoco.
I don't remember why I have alerts for those, honestly.
Berkshire Hathaway's
yeah, it was on my swing trade list, that's right.
Derivatives business, reportedly paying $195 million in July to wind down the last of his credit default liabilities. With more on this, we turn now to Noah Buhire. He's joining us from Seattle. So Noah, it struck me that for some time, Warren Buffett has said that he doesn't like derivatives much. He's really been very critical, and yet he's had a bunch. So is this?
So Jiva looks like it's trying to come back around as well.
Well, I mean, it was always a bit of an irony that they had this derivatives book at Berkshire Hathaway, and Buffett for years has sort of tried to explain why his were different, how he was managing them personally, and how he thought sort of over the long haul they would be a good thing for Berkshire Hathaway.
Now, why does look a little overextended to me, that's why I'm not actually going in just yet.
To either wind them down or let them run off. He hasn't been adding new positions for...
Like, most of that action was that first candle here, from 40.58 to like 41.25. And it's still up nicely, but I feel like I'd kind of be buying at the top here. So I'm going to wait for a little pullback. SPLK is actually pulling back already a bit. You can see that here, pulling back.
He use them as a source of capital for investment, right? Does he give that up now?
Yeah.
So I'll put an alert kind of close to the high,
in terms of
and down here where we might find some support if it continues to pull back.
You know, Buffett has made a lot of money.
Same thing with YY.
Selling insurance and then using the premiums that he collects to make investments. So he really looked at these derivatives in a similar way. He was getting payments.
YY is actually still going off a bit.
While he had to reflect on his balance sheet the change in their value each quarter, that wasn't really real. That was just an accounting thing. And you know what
It's just
we're seeing here,
the risk reward just doesn't seem there anymore.
so you're not
I would be up about 20 cents a share.
on Berkshire's income statement,
But it's so far above
also,
support now.
you know, got less of this.
I'm just not really feeling
to,
it.
to play around with for his investments.
No, we also got earnings out of Berkshire Hathaway on Friday. What did they tell us about this?
And
state
Gevo's
of the
coming back
economy,
around,
particularly
maybe?
with respect to his railroad?
Yeah, that's a great question. So the railroad, I think, as a lot of people expected, posted a decline in earnings. You know, people look to Berkshire.
Yeah,
as
Gevo is coming back around a little bit.
Of the economy, and I think what you saw were a lot of things.
Might
that
be
were
a
in
trade
line,
there.
With their peer group. We saw other railroads post declines in profit in the second quarter. The one thing that I will flag from Berkshire earnings is that their insurance
Bids are stacking around 79.5.
rebounded. We saw
Now they're falling down a bit.
Geico bounced back.
They were
pretty
stacked
well,
79.5. I
which,
see some
was a
coming
little
down to
different than what we saw,
79.25,
from
79,
some
now
of the
even
auto insurers had
78.25.
a tougher time in the second quarter.
Thanks so much, Noah. That's Bloomberg's Noah Buhaya reporting from
ISNS
Seattle.
is still
Yeah,
dying.
another company story we've been watching throughout the morning. If you tried to fly today, this morning in the United States, you'll be familiar with this one. A power outage in Atlanta brought down Delta's computer systems, causing the airline.
People definitely could have got burned on this stock this morning.
The company sent out a tweet.
Look at that. This candle was touching like 575. It got pushed all the way up to 633. So anyone who didn't take profit in under 60 seconds on that candle got burned pretty hard. It's trading about 539 now. So pretty much $1 less than the high of the day. Definitely people got burned on that. So it's a good thing we didn't go in. But like I said, I was waiting for my indicators to look a bit more bullish, and that just never happened. So if I'm a little iffy on the stock, I just won't play it. I would wait for the perfect setup. I'd rather miss profits than burn my account.
You know, and I guess we expected, you know, there to be quite a long.
That's one thing. I don't let FOMO kill me. Fear of missing out. I used to make that mistake when I was still a beginner, and I try not to let that happen anymore.
There was a power outage, just not what caused it.
Now we have a nice green candle here. It is making a little bit of recovery. 534 to 568.
Haven't they prepared for that could allow this to happen, for such a long delay to have happened? I mean, this has a knock-on effect for the next couple of days. Passengers are able to move flights and rebook tickets onto different
But still bearish overall. We have lower lows. Trend is down.
Today we know that they were meant to have about 3,300 flights. That's just today. We're not sure yet how many of those have been delayed or cancelled as a result of the power outage, but we should get an update a little bit later today.
Ben, no drama.
Not a very eventful open so far.
Higher in the first 6-7 minutes of trading by about 1.3%. But this is an industry in the news in a big way today, not just the airliners, but the companies that make the planes themselves. What is the latest on what's happening with the inquiry around Airbus?
Yes, so we had news coming out late last night that
Looks like Vuzi would have been a good short.
SFO in the UK has decided
Down
that they will open up a formal
3.5%.
Airbus group.
Let's look over at GDX.
Actions and in emerging markets.
GDX is coming up a bit. Might have a
What
gold
we know
play.
At the moment is actually very little. Just that the case is opening. Airbus had said a couple months ago already that they were
See here, GDX has come up a bit, and in respect to that, Nugget also coming up a bit from 153 area to the low, 155.5, not too bad. Let's go back to ISNS, kind of keep an eye out on that. So look at that, we had that green candle, still bearish overall, coming back down even more.
For its potential customers. So at the moment, the UKEF, which
And this
is
thing
a
is just
government
looking
agency
worse and
that
worse.
backs the funding of customers purchasing airplanes, has said that they won't resume giving Airbus that financing until there's a result from this SFO investigation. But we'll still have to wait and see what happens.
Well, no drama in Delta's story, the empty market, not much on the Airbus story. Trading in Paris, France, down by about 1.2% in European trading. Ben Katz, thank you very much for joining us. Bloomberg Aerospace.
All right, so from planes to Harry Potter, I guess you can make that turn. You got NBC Universal is in a pact.
Yeah, we just had another alert on SPLK, so that's probably dipping.
The company has called
Dipping
the
pretty
deal
hard.
the largest movie
Almost
acquisition in NBC's
erasing all of its
Universal's
gains from
history.
today already.
For more, Paul Sweeney, Bloomberg Intelligence head of North America.
So I'm gonna
Research
put my alert
senior
there.
media analyst, joins us now. This is reported by the Wall Street
Right at the
Journal.
resistance
We're
area,
going to people familiar
and we'll
with
flip
the
back to
pattern. What's the price tag
SNIS
and
just
the
to
timeline
kind
we're
of
hearing about
keep watch on that.
Looks like the
There should
price
be a
tag
play
is a
eventually,
big one. $250 million is being reported here. So this
unless
is
it dies all day. But I think it probably will give us a little bit of a play eventually. It's almost back down to that support at 490.
I think they're recognizing that as they think about
490.
the television business, one of the things that
490
they know
flat.
and other television operators know is what still works in a fragmented TV world is big, oh wow programming. We usually think about sporting events, the Super Bowl and NFL and the Olympics, for example. But there's also big movie franchises that still are big enough to really resonate with audiences years after they first come into to the theater. And I think that's what NBC Universal is saying here, that this is must-have content and it has a long shelf life.
And because Disney actually holds the rights to the movies until June 2018, so obviously that part of the timing. But when you era of Netflix, of HBO Now, which also holds the movie rights, like why do you need it for TV?
Yeah, I think NBC Universal is saying, listen, not only do
All
we
right,
have
so
NBC
I'm gonna
Network,
post
we have a
the
whole
setup
host of
for
cable networks as well, and this programming
ISNS in my chat room right now.
Cable network. So this is programming 8 films now, plus some new films that are being created.
Where we're looking for
kind of a
support,
subgenre
where we're
of
looking
the
for
Harry
it to
Potter
break out
franchise.
potential
So I think they
price
see a lot of
targets and all that
content
jazz.
spread over a lot of their broadcasting cable networks. And
Because
let's
it's
remember,
downtrending, but it's not getting completely
NBC
wrecked.
Universal and
So I think there's a chance it makes a recovery at some point today. It's almost back down to the support, like I said, so it has that going for it too.
For NBC Universal's theme parks down in Orlando.
Good point. And Comcast is down by about 0.8% in the market. Okay, Olympics ratings. How'd they do, NBC, on the opening ceremonies on Friday?
Well, the overnights have been very disappointing, down 30 to 35% for the first couple of nights. But I think what we've kind of come to recognize in this new world of television, the overnight ratings aren't what they used to be. So we still haven't seen the time-shifted viewing ratings come in, the plus 3 days, the plus 7 days, plus all the digital viewing. So I think there's a lot more viewing out there that's not being captured clearly by the overnight ratings. But if you're NBC Universal, you got to be a little bit nervous here because you locked in advertisers guaranteeing.
Wow, GDX is all the way back up now. I might be buying some Nugget.
So that you can make your audience delivery numbers.
Like
I'm gonna buy some Nugget, yep. I think that looks like a good idea.
Paul, thanks very much. Paul Sweeney, Bloomberg Intelligence, head of North American Research.
See GDX
Well, coming up
pushing up. I just kind of want to wait for some more confirmation on that candle. Looks pretty solid though.
Capital Markets at JP Morgan was the inspiration for a new movie.
If it gets denied, we can go on short it with dust. So let's wait for a little more confirmation, but I think Nugget is going to be the play. The overall trend is up on the long term, but it sold off yesterday. It's had a hard time breaking the 31.25 pivot GDX. And so far, it's still not quite breaking this pivot either. Let's just kind of keep our eyes on it, but it looks like Nugget might be the play. CETX also a potential play, but it looks like that trend is pretty much down right now. So yeah, CETX was alerted in the chat room. Let's flip over to that. You see this thing opened up nice. It's still up 18%. High at 630, trading right now at about 6. And we might see this thing still continue to run, actually. So I want to see this thing get over 610, and then it'll look interesting to me. Putting that alert there at 610. RSI not looking great though. Averages are looking really good. It could easily come back around. Over to GDX again. Wow. So pushed up, got denied hard, pushed up again, got denied again. It's pushing up once again now. So I think I'll take a stab at some Nugget.
He's chairman of Petrie Partners.
Coming up at the top of the next hour, it is Bloomberg Markets with Nera Chehich and Vonnie Quinn today. Nera, the theme in the market, right? How long can this equity rally continue?
All right, so I just got in on some Nugget. I like the way it just broke up there. And I could put a fairly tight stop just in case it goes down. I'm filled at 156.6. It's at 157.10 right now. So a pretty good area to buy in. As long as this trend continues, I should be pretty well off.
Because of course we're seeing the DAX heading for its highest close this year. So that is one of the guests in our European close hour, Christoph Kind.
I'm not going to put a stop loss in on this because the candles can be pretty volatile on GDX. What I am going to do is put an alert under support, and I will know if it's time to sell off, and I'll just do it manually on this play because GDX can stop you out pretty easily. But so far this Nugget play has been good.
Down to the quantitative easing and the other stimulative measures that we got from the Bank of England last week. So a lot to talk about. And finally, of course, looking at one corporate story, we're going to very much be breaking down what's happened with Airbus as well.
All right, thank you very much. Busy day. Nera Chehich, thanks very much.
Record highs then on the S&P 500 and on the Nasdaq as well. Let's cross over to the Nasdaq where Bloomberg's Abigail Doolittle is standing by with a few tech stocks on the move.
Well, absolutely, John, on those record highs. All eyes on whether a new record high, a closing record high, can be set for the Nasdaq once again at this early time. It appears that could happen. Now, of course, all of these record highs could have some investors wondering, John, what are the most, quote, crowded trades out there? According to UBS, several Nasdaq stocks are very crowded trades. This includes Amazon, Amgen, and Broadcom. As for an under-owned trade, we're looking at Apple, somewhat surprising. So perhaps that's a stock, according to UBS, that could have some room to run if institutions become more interested. Turning to a stock that had traded up more than 1% on the open, now holding on to its gains just slightly. Nvidia, this after Jefferies did raise its price target by 23% to $69 per share, ahead of the company's July quarter results on Thursday. The analyst there is saying that the products have momentum, and he sees big upside.
CTX is coming back around to our buy-in area. That could be a potential trade as well.
It's one to keep an eye on.
Definitely. All right, thank you very much, Abigail Doolittle, joining us from the Nasdaq. So throughout the 3 hours, we have shown you a bit of my conversation with Liz Myers, JP Morgan head of equity capital markets. But in addition to leading new stock offerings, Liz was also...
But it's having some trouble, that's for sure. And you know what? It does look a bit overextended now. I probably will not play CTX. It's been uptrending the last like 5 minutes, but it hasn't been able to break that resistance. That's why I don't like it. Let's flip over to CTX and I'll show you guys what I mean. So basically this resistance is the alert area at 610, and it's been uptrending this whole area. You see the RSI was overbought, and it never went oversold, but it still hasn't been able to break that area. So it is going to be a bit of a riskier play that I'm not too keen on. I will put an alert to high day just in case it spikes randomly, but if it does break the high day and I haven't gone in yet, it'll probably be a little bit too late for my taste anyway, but at least then I'll know what's going on. It is kind of going off a little bit here though. But like I said, still a bit overextended and not really too keen on that play. So we'll just keep watching GDX for now.
But I was very intrigued by the thought that there was this woman who was interested in portraying Wall Street with a different lens, the lens of powerful women who are successful and dealing with the same challenges and thrills that men in Wall Street movies might have dealt with. So I wasn't sure.
I do not like this movement on GDX.
So
that's disappointing.
As a research source, and so when we thought about the accuracy of the movie, when I think about the accuracy of the movie, it's really the research that Sarah did.
So see, we would have been stopped out on Nugget just because of this wick. And if it closes above this pivot point and keeps uptrending, I would not have been happy with being stopped out. So I take a little more risk on this Nugget play, and I will sell my shares manually if it kind of breaks 30.29. But overall, you know, the averages are still really nice looking. It has potential for sure. CTX, it did push above that resistance. The alert, remember, was at 610, and it did break that now. Put an alert for breaking below 610, and you can see it's almost back below 610 again. Not really too keen on that either.
Mentorship and sponsorship, and maybe what the difference is between those.
We kind of might see it make a cup and handle formation though. That's one of my favorite patterns.
Have people that fill both those roles for them.
And Sarah, you guys kind of did a lot of that on the creative side too. You made a real effort.
So I'm going to keep an eye on that. GDX is breaking down more. That's not good. That is not good.
Talk a little bit about that process as well.
Sure, and I think Wall Street and Hollywood are similar in this, in that for whatever reasons, there are not enough women in senior positions. And so we just made it a mandate, really, the entire creative team, to hire female producers, a female director, female screenwriter, female sound, female production designer. Just put more people in front of the camera as women, because why not?
Why not?
It still makes a great movie, yeah.
And you got picked up by Sony for $3.5 million. It's going to open nationwide in September. What's next?
So we actually optioned to TriStar the television spin-off based on these female characters, which I'm really excited about, because those are women we haven't seen on a television screen. We had Billions, which is
Yes, I'm watching Bloomberg.
Showtime, and I think we can have a female version.
Yeah, this Nugget play is getting me a little nervous now. I don't really want to.
With an advisor on the new film.
I don't want to sell just yet because it is kind of coming back around.
And not only did they have this sort of
just about ready to sell this thing though.
And she was really helping on the IPO logistics, but Sarah Megan got her hair cut exactly like Liz Myers as part of the inspiration for the movie. Yeah, she told me that off camera that she got her hair cut.
Because I'm always curious about these things. How much of it is the same and how much of it's different because of the gender?
So you can see what I mean though. Look at that. It's almost back up to the pivot point now.
Successes, the same defeats.
And I was at a, decent little loss there, 3% or so, and now I'm almost back to break even.
Inspiration for the underlying storyline, I should say, because there was a lot of conflict between the two women. But the point of it is that it was one of the few financial movies out there that is very true to real life.
I'm just going to keep holding the Nugget for now. I mean, overall the trend is up. It's making higher lows. It's just struggling to stay above that pivot point, but it does look pretty good on the 1 minute chart. 5 minute chart's coming back up as well. You can see if we can ride this thing all the way up to the next pivot point, I will have some major profits on this Nugget. So I'm going to keep holding it for now. We'll see where it takes us.
Speech happening in just over 2 hours time from now. We'll have the preview from New York for our viewers worldwide. This is Bloomberg.
Nicholas in chat posting NVCN. Let's flip over to that. NVCN is going off a bit, but looks way overextended for me now. I'll show you guys what I mean. So here's NVCN, 70 cents to about 75 cents, but look at all the volume. It's already pushed up here, and the RSI is looking good, but I don't think I want to buy at the top here, and that's kind of what it looks like I'll be doing if I get in there. So I'm not going to really play that. GDX is coming back up around, so that's awesome. And GDX is coming back around, yeah. Just flipping over to ISNS for a second. Still trending down pretty hard. That thing would have been a good short. Kind of flip to the longer frame here. So I'm going to put some alerts on the way up. See, we had a massive selling off on GDX on Friday. So if we can gap up back to the 31.25 pivot, yeah, it'll be really sweet.
This is Bloomberg Go. I'm David Weston. Donald Trump is coming off of
just to be safe, we're also going to put our alerts on the way down in case it doesn't go as planned.
Just a few hours now at the Detroit Economic Club.
So far it's good. You know, if I sold the GDX, I would have sold for a loss, and I'm back at break even now. So holding it worked out for now, but it still looks like it's struggling to really get above that pivot point, which is making me a little nervous.
The Detroit Economic Club hosts presidential candidates to give major policy addresses, particularly on the economy. And Donald Trump is going to try to show people his theory of the case. There's some new things he's talking about today, a moratorium on regulation, and some other things related to tax policy.
Wow, SAEX is down 40%. That was one of our runners from last week. We can flip over that real quick and take a look. SAEX
obviously has symbolic resonance, as you know, as a place that used to drive the American
And look at that.
economy. And now, despite
From
lots of
34
efforts
to
and
19.
efforts by Democrats and
I think that thing made a high of what, like 70? Yeah, $75 the other day. Absolutely insane pump. From 12 to 75. Ridiculously powerful stock last week. And now it is correcting itself.
Thanks for the speech, and on BloombergPolitics.com now we have excerpts of things he's expected to say, which we don't normally have. So this is relatively unusual, and it is going to be, again, a broad speech about his economic vision. If Donald Trump's going to
And let's go back to GDX. All right, we're almost breaking the high of the day there. That'll be pretty sweet.
Who do Americans think by an election day can make their lives better on the economy? If Trump can't win that argument,
And so there's not much action going on right now. I'm going to run out the scanners and see if anything comes up.
His key economic advisors. What did that tell us about Donald Trump, the candidate?
That he likes people around him who he knows. Almost everybody on that list is someone he's known for a long time.
Got the momentum scanner going.
Including from the financial world. You know, there's a bit of dissonance for both these candidates, Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump. They rail against Wall Street, and yet they're surrounded by advisors with pretty deep ties on Wall Street.
And we have Hillary coming up on Thursday. Hillary Clinton will be in the same place.
Let's get that.
Also in Michigan. This was a speech they say had been planned for a while, but the Clinton folks obviously plan not just to go aggressively today to talk about the contracts, but to have
breakout scanner going.
Haven't we already heard a lot from Hillary Clinton actually on the details of her economic plan?
We have, but you know.
And we got an alert on ISNS. It is breaking down even more. It's at the 495 support.
Tell me some ideas Hillary Clinton has on the economy that intrigue you. They haven't broken through. This is one of her biggest weaknesses, and probably her husband's greatest strength and her biggest weakness. Explain your theory of the case on the economy. How do your ideas fit together? Where you've got a vision of what does America stand for now? Where can America excel in a post-industrial world?
Okay, it's going to be an exciting week. Mark Halperin, co-managing editor of Bloomberg Politics. Thank you very much, Jonathan.
Where America is excelling.
4.9. Let's see if it bounces here. I'm going to flip over to ISNS for a second. And GDX is pushing up. That's what I like to see. Really quick, let's look at ISNS. So you can see it's at the support, and that candle almost closed really bullish. Almost turned into that pin bar candle that we like to see. And it's still trying. It is still trying. So I'm going to put some alerts up here if it starts reversing. We could see a potential bounce here. It might actually be worth entering with the really tight stop on this. Oh, I'm starting to become in the profit on my nugget. That's pretty cool. And I'm going to wait for a few more bullish signs before I go in on ISNS. It'll be a really small position if I do go in for this potential bounce play. So I'm watching this real closely here. You know what? I think I'm going to try it. I'm going to take a stab on this. So I'm buying some ISNS here for a potential bounce. Super tight stop. Will not be a big loss at all if I get stopped out on here. And I just got stopped out already. That was fast. What a bummer. It was worth a try, at least. Well, we're still up on the nugget a lot, so that's cool. Let's flip back over to GDX. You can see this thing has been going off, so I plan on just riding this thing all the way up. I mean, hopefully it gets to the next pivot point. That'd be awesome. And I can raise my stop on Nugget to break even now.
It's 10 a.m. in New York, 3 p.m. in London, and 10 p.m. in Hong Kong. From New York, I'm Bonnie Quinn.
And live from London, I'm Naira Chahich. This is Bloomberg Markets on Bloomberg Television.
Now for where we left off with the scanners. I gotta continue that right now. I think we left off on the breakout scanner.
We're going to take you from San Francisco to Washington and cover stories out of the UK and Brazil in the next hour. Here's what we're watching. Republican presidential nominee Donald Trump to unveil his economic
breakout
plan
scanner.
in a speech in Detroit.
Now we'll load up that gap up
He's
scanner.
likely to propose a temporary moratorium on new financial regulations and repeal and replace Dodd-Frank. But will it help get his struggling campaign back on track?
Oh, Nugget was such a good buy. I am in the green so hardcore on this now. We're at almost 159 on Nugget. In from 156.7. Very sweet play. 159.13 we're at now.
Why more significant moves could be ahead.
And we're pulling back the curtain on the next iPhone. Apple is gearing up to release the next iteration as early as next month. It includes more advanced photography capabilities and upgraded hardware. But is it too similar to the last design to get the consumer excited?
And now we will run the penny stock scanner. Good old penny scanner.
Bloomberg's Julie Hyman has the latest. Julie.
Yeah, and I want to start with oil prices because we're seeing a rebound there that then is having an effect on the equity market in the U.S. as well. Oil having a big gain here, more than 2%, almost at $43 a barrel, above $42 a barrel at this point. We had some commentary out from the OPEC president, a statement on that organization's website saying that the countries are in constant deliberations on stabilizing the market. They're going to hold informal talks in Algiers next month. Now, a couple of delegates who are familiar with the plans here say there are no plans to renew the failed push for a production freeze. Nonetheless,
still not much coming up through the scanners, unfortunately.
Today. And this amidst what has been a very negative environment for oil. Of course, it had entered a bear market, and there's still a lot of pessimism out there. Take a look at the Bloomberg. This is #BTV2562. This looks at short positions by money managers.
WGBS actually came through the scanners. I always thought that name for that company was pretty funny. Wafergen Bio. Wafergen? I mean, like, really? It's a funny name.
Short positions have actually been increased to a record. So there's not much optimism that this little bit of a bounce that we've seen in oil prices is going to continue. Now, if you look at the feed through of this into what we're seeing in stocks today, energy stocks are the best performing group. They're up more than 1%. So we're seeing that group lead the gains. On the flip side, we've got healthcare pulling back the most, down about 0.75%. So that sort of push and pull. What does it equal overall for equities? Let's take a look at the major averages to find out, because we don't have a lot of
question is, where do I want to sell my Nugget?
Even just 30 minutes into the session, we've had stocks bouncing between gains.
So I would hate for this to reverse.
So there isn't even that decided of a direction once again for stocks. So Friday notwithstanding,
I think I'll raise my stop loss.
This drift, if you will, in the equity market post the jobs report on Friday. So it looks like right now the downward pressure is winning out. One of the things that is causing that is Allergan. I mentioned healthcare stocks are the worst performing group. A lot of the large cap pharma stocks are down, led by Allergan. Second quarter profit, they're actually beating analysts' estimates. Sales better than estimated for Botox. On the flip side, revenue overall, which was up 1.5%, was slightly below what analysts had been anticipating. So that may be what's weighing on the shares.
157. It's been going off so hard though. Like, that's why it's kind of tough for me to put a stop loss on this right now.
Alibaba potentially making an investment or even purchasing
158.7, like,
are reports that in fact is not.
I'll put a pretty tight stop on it then.
It's down by almost 3%. Alibaba up just 0.4% at the moment. Nira?
158.3.
Julie, thanks. We are about 90
I'll go 0.2. Give it a little more leeway. 158.2 is where I'm putting my stop loss on this.
If we look at the GMM function on the Bloomberg cross,
So I'm definitely locking in some profits. And I'm actually going to end this video now, 30 minutes into the video. That's a pretty good amount of time for a YouTube video, and I'm actually going to start streaming instead since things are getting a little more interesting now. So thank you guys for watching, and I will post the rest of this video when the stream archives. So I hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll post that stream link in the description of this video, or I'll probably also make it a card because YouTube has those handy functions, so definitely keep an eye out for that. And if you enjoyed this, please subscribe to the channel if you're not already, and you're more than welcome to take a look at our chat room at activeinvestors.net, and you can get in on plays like these. Definitely up nicely on Nugget, and all the other plays that people were looking at today, we didn't enter because they didn't look so hot, and that was a good play in itself, just not entering, so definitely consider that, and we'll see you around.